Imagine you are tasked with setting up cloud infrastructure for web application and creating virtual machine, databases, and networks. And manually configuring these resources across multiple environments like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud would be a very tedious task and error prone. And this is where Terraform comes in. Terraform allows you to automate and manage infrastructure by using code, ensuring consistency, scalability, and efficiency. In this tutorial, we are going to explore its core concepts including providers, state files, and modules. You are going to learn how to set up Terraform, master essential commands like init and apply. And at the end of the session, we are going to do a hands-on example. Now before we move on, just a quick info guys. Simplilearn has got best AWS course online certification program. You can empower your career with these official AWS courses delivered by Full Stack Academy, an authorized training partner for AWS. These courses, facilitated by AWS authorized instructors, provide an invaluable opportunity to learn fundamental to advanced level skills, elevating your career as an AWS professional. So hurry up now and join the course. The course link is mentioned in the description box.
Let's start with understanding first what is Terraform and why you should learn it. So guys, Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code tool that allows developers and operations teams to automate and manage cloud infrastructure, whether it's provisioning virtual machines, setting up networking, or managing storage. Terraform simplifies infrastructure tasks using code. Terraform's core strength lies in its declarative syntax, where you define the desired state of your infrastructure, and Terraform figures out how to achieve it. With multi-cloud support and extensive community adoption, Terraform has become go-to-go tool for DevOps professionals. Now, there are some key benefits of using Terraform. First of all, it simplifies your resource management by using reusable code. Second, it automates deployment and scaling, reducing manual effort. Third, it supports multi-cloud environments like AWS, Azure, and GCP. Now let's dive deeper into Terraform and understand its concepts, use cases, and how to get started. Now before moving on, let us first understand what is exactly infrastructure as a code. Now, infrastructure as a code is a modern approach to manage IT infrastructure using machine-readable script rather than manual configuration. IAC ensures consistency, reduces human errors, and enables automation in infrastructure provisioning. Now, the benefits of infrastructure as a code in DevOps are as follows. First of all, automation. Infrastructure can be provisioned, updated, or destroyed automatically. Next, you get version control. Scripts can be stored in Git, enabling collaboration and rollback. Third one is consistency. It ensures environment, for example, dev, staging, production, remains identical. Now let me tell you an example. Imagine deploying a web application that requires an Amazon EC2 instance, a database, and a load balancer. So using Terraform, you can define this setup in a configuration file and deploy it repeatedly in different environments without manual intervention. Now, there are some core concepts of Terraform. Let us discuss one by one. The first one that we are going to understand is its declarative syntax. Terraform uses a declarative language where you define the end state of your infrastructure rather than the steps to achieve it. So instead of manually creating EC2 instance, you can specify the instance properties and Terraform provisions it. For example, you can write something like this. You can write resource, okay, then here AWS instance, then you have example, and here you can give its AMI, which is equals to say AMI 1 2 3 4 5 6, okay. Now you can next give its instance type. So suppose we are using t2.micro. So you can see all over here that how we are using this declarative syntax. Now, next thing we have is state file. Now, the next one is state file. If we discuss about state file, then Terraform maintains a state file which is called Terraform TF state to keep track of your infrastructure. This file ensures Terraform knows which resource it manages and tracks changes. Now you'll be wondering why state file is important. The reason is it prevents Terraform from duplicating or destroying resources unnecessarily. The third one that we have is providers. Now, if we discuss about providers, providers are basically the plugins that allow Terraform to interact with specific platforms. Like you can have AWS, Azure, or GCP. And each provider comes with its own resource type and capabilities. For example, if we talk about AWS, then it manages AWS resources like EC2, S3, and RDS. If we talk about Google, then you could also sell about it handles GCP resources like Compute Engine and Cloud Storage. Similarly, for Azure, it works with the Azure services. The fourth one that we have all over here are modules. Now, modules are reusable sets of Terraform configuration files that makes complex setups simpler. For example, a module for virtual private cloud could include the configurations for subnets, gateways, and route table. So it would look something like this. So you could see all over here, we have written module, VPC, we have its source, which is Terraform AWS modules / VPC / AWS, then it have its version, then it have its CIDR number, which is basically 10.0.0.16. Now, you'll be wondering what CIDR is. So CIDR stands for Classless Interdomain Routing. So basically, it's a block, which is a method for defining IP addresses range for networks. Let's say we have 10.0.0. So this is the starting IP address of the range. It's a part of the private IP range from 10.0.0 to 10.252525. Okay, something like this. So which is commonly used in internal networks. Then you are seeing this /16. This is the subnet marks of the CIDR notation. It means that the first 16 bits of the IP address are reversed for network portion, leaving remaining bits for the host address. Then we have the range of IPs. So with /16 subnet, you can have 65,536 IP address, which is basically 2 raised to the power 16. So let us discuss a use case about it. So say this block is typically we are using here for defining the private subnets in virtual private cloud. Okay, for example, AWS to allocate IP address for the virtual machines or other resources. So this is module which is present in Terraform. So you'd be wondering how Terraform works. So we have written certain steps for it. And first step is writing the configuration, where you define your desired infrastructure in .tf file. So you will write your infrastructure requirements in Terraform configuration files. So suppose the file name would be main.tf. These files are used in HashiCorp configuration language, which is SCL. Okay. For example, you could see all over here that we have provider AWS, region US West 2. You have given the name of resource, which is AWS instance. Okay. Then you have given the EMI. Okay, and the instance type which you are instantiating, which is t2.micro. So first step is writing your configuration. So your next step would be initializing the Terraform. You're going to run Terraform init to download provider plugins and setting up the environments. So this command is going to do following thing. It is going to download the provider plugins. So here Terraform is going to connect to the cloud providers like AWS, Azure, GCP using the plugins. And then it is going to set up your environment. So here Terraform will confirm that your initialization is complete and readying you to proceed for the next phase, which is planning the changes. Now here you are going to preview the changes. Terraform will make your infrastructure by running Terraform plan. So just type this command in the terminal, okay? And here, what is going to happen? The output will show the following thing. Here, the resource will be created, updated, or destroyed, and dependency between the resources. So, for example, the output would be something like this. You are going to get AWS instance example, AMI, and instance type. Now, first step would be applying the changes. Now, you have to apply the changes to create or modify infrastructure using Terraform apply. Terraform will prompt you to confirm operation by typing yes. And result would be your desired resources will be provisioned or updated in your cloud environment. The fifth one would be managing the state. Now, Terraform uses a state file, which is called as Terraform TF state. Okay. So here I'll mention the name of the file. So this file is basically used to track the current state of your infrastructure. This file is crucial for two things. First of all, comparing the actual infrastructure with the configuration files. Second one would be managing dependency and relationships between resources. The best practice is store the state file in a secure location, especially when working in teams. So suppose you are working with remote backends like AWS S3, so you could use it. Now, finally, you have to destroy the infrastructure. So type this command, terraform destroy. When resources are no longer needed, you can clean up using this command. This is going to ensure that resources are deleted properly to avoid unnecessary costs. So the summary is, first step is writing your infrastructure code. Second is initializing the Terraform. Third is planning the changes. Fourth step is applying the changes. Fifth is managing the state. And finally, destroying the infrastructure. I hope so. You would have got a brief idea regarding how Terraform works. So theoretically, we have understood how, with the help of configuration file, your Terraform is performing. Now you could see that I've been referring to the official documentation of Terraform. So it has wonderful documentation and it has also given the tutorials. So click on tutorial and you could see it has told you getting started. So if you are trying with AWS, so it has 8 tutorials on it. And if you are trying with HCP Terraform, it has 10. And similarly for different platforms, it has given different number of tutorials. Now, what you could do, suppose if you choose AWS, just right click on this and you could see it has given a wonderful instruction for you to also understand like what is infrastructure as a code. So you can follow all these documentation, which is going to help you very much. Now, you could see also all over here, this documentation also have an interactive terminal, okay, where you could interact with it. So just right click on this launch and you could see your terminal is going to get started. So you could see all over here, it's saying start. So just right click on this. Now you could see the workstation of Terraform. So inside this folder, root Terraform Docker container. Okay, let me just expand this. So it has 2 files. First is main.tf files and second one is terraform.tf files. So these are basically configuration files. Okay, now you are expected to write the configuration files all over here. So suppose if you click in main.tf, okay, now what are the instructions all over here? So you could follow the same thing to learn interactively. So it is telling you to create a Terraform infrastructure with Docker. Okay, now in the code editor, what you have to do? So you have to open this file, terraform.editor. Okay, so it includes the piece of code, okay, basically the block of code, which defines the provider and Terraform versions which you are going to use in this project. So for example, you could see all over here, it has given Terraform required providers. So its provider is Docker. The source is Cruise Worker, Docker. The version you are using is 3.2. Okay, and the required version is 1.7. Now, open the main.tf file all over here to the next, and you can copy and paste the following configuration like provider Docker, resource Docker image from Nginx. Okay, name is you are using Nginx latest, keeping locally is false. Okay, then resource Docker container from Nginx, the image, the name, the ports you are using. Now let us try to understand this code. Okay, so this Terraform code is provisioning a Docker container running the Nginx web server. Let's break it down. So first of all, we have written provider Docker. So provider is basically specifying the Docker provider, which is going to allow Terraform to interact with Docker. So by default, it connects a Docker daemon to your local machine or a configure remote Docker environment. Then you have this Docker image resource. So you could see all over here, it's written resource, Docker image, Nginx, name Nginx latest, keep locally false. So if you talk about Docker image resource, it basically manages the Docker image. The name specifies the image to use in this case, suppose which is Nginx latest. Now keep locally means it is going to indicate whether the image should remain on the local machine after the use or not. So setting false means Terraform will remove the image locally if no longer needed. So basically what it does, it is ensuring that Nginx latest image is available to use in your Docker setup. Now if we talk about resource, so here first we are declaring the Docker container resource, okay, which defines the Docker container to run. Then you have the image, so it uses image ID from the previously defined Docker image resource, okay, to pull the correct image. Name, you can see all over here. The name is tutorial, so it's a container name as tutorial. Now you could also see ports, so we have 2 ports, okay. So it is basically mapping the ports between container to the host system. So for internal AT, this refers to the port inside the container where the Nginx service is running. So it listens on the port 80 by default. And next you have this external port 8000, which refers to the port to the host machine that will forward the traffic to the container's port 80. Now in summary, it is going to create and run a Docker container named tutorial using the Nginx latest image, exposing it on the port 8000 of the host machine. Now you have got the brief idea regarding main.tf file. So we have said the second part. Now go to the terminal. Okay, so this is your terminal, and here you initialize it. So we have discussed about this step. Okay, so just paste this and right click on this. So you could see it is initializing the backend. Now it is showing the next step as Terraform apply. So what does this Terraform apply means? So basically Terraform is reading the .tf files in your working directory. It calculates the difference between the current state and the state, which is the desired state in the configuration files. So Terraform shows you the summary of the changes it is going to make. Suppose what are the resources to be created, resources to be updated, and resources to be destroyed. So let us run this code. So you could see all over here that it has shown you the summary, plan 2 to add, 0 to change, and 0 to destroy. Now you'll say, okay, so you want to perform these actions. So it has also written Terraform will perform the actions as described above. So you have to enter the value. Now just press click and apply is cancelled. So you can also choose the values. Say you could give the redefined values. So let us type this command again and let us proceed again. Now the next step we are going to do is verifying the Nginx instance. So copy this command, okay, and paste it. So it is going to show you the container ID, image, command created, status, and ports, and the given names. Now you have this final command terraform.destroy. So just right click on this. And this command is going to destroy all the resources which you have created. So this was a very short tutorial, guys, which have given you the basic command, like how Terraform works, how configuration files work. I hope so you have got a brief idea regarding Terraform. Thank you guys for watching this video on Terraform.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.